So this is like the third or fourth time we've gone through this room. Whoa. And as you see, I'm not even fighting those monsters anymore. I just went out the way I came in because I'm a genius. I'm a super genius. It's a left turn in that room. You actually need a left turn and then a right turn, so my brain always gets confused there as to what type of turn I actually need. But now that we have the boost ball, we could go back to Chozo Ruins and do some more damage. There's a couple of items we could get in Chozo Ruins, but there's only a couple, and there's a lot of items in Chozo Ruins to get, and I like to try to clear as much of an area on each pass as I can. That just makes the most sense to my playstyle. So we will be going back to Chozo Ruins in a little bit, but not directly, not right now. Even though if it's your first run through the game, you probably will, because the elevators to Chozo and Magmoor are so close here. You probably would go back to Chozo with some of your new toys here, the boost ball especially, and because there's a very conspicuous half pipe in the Chozo Ruins. There's actually two very conspicuous half pipes in the Chozo Ruins that you could go play around with at this point. Back down to the Magmoor now, and we actually can't progress in Magmoor anymore. If we try to go one more room in Magmoor, we hit a room that we can't get through without the item from the end of this stretch of Phendrana. So, technically, we got the thing so we could get the thing so we could go back to get the thing so we could come back to this room and go through this door and go to the next bit of the game. And there's a lot of that in Metroid Prime. Unless you're using the crazy glitches, you really cannot break sequence at all. But it doesn't bother me so much in this game compared to, like, not even Metroid Fusion. Let's not even bad talk Metroid Fusion right now. Just Metroid Prime 2 and 3. Metroid Prime 3 is extremely egregious about this thing. Because Metroid Prime 3, okay, you do a little introductory area, whatever, you get your spaceship. The thing about Metroid Prime 3, like the main innovation of Metroid Prime 3 is that I just want to go this way, don't I? We'll just eat this health. We'll come out ahead, it's fine. But yeah, Metroid Prime 3, you get a spaceship, and there's several planets to explore. So at the beginning of the game, they're like, oh, here's 2 planets. Which planet would you like to go to? There's 2. It's your choice. You can pick any one you want. So I'm like, okay, I know what planet the game wants me to go to. So I'm going to go to the other one, because it's Metroid. I want to see what kind of trouble I can get into, if anything. And you can't. You fly down to the planet, you go through the loading screen or whatever, you go through the landing screen, blah, 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 and literally one screen into that area is a door you can't open without the final item from the first planet. And it's not like this game with the gravity suit area I was talking about. You can't do anything. I don't remember the name of the planet, like Elysium or something. The first one is Brio. You're supposed to go to Brio first. Brio is kind of like your Brinstar of Metroid Prime 3. It has, it actually has fire, ice, and jungle areas. So it's kind of like you kind of run the gamut of all the standard Metroid areas. I don't remember what the second planet is called. My brain is saying Elysium. I don't think that's correct, but you can't go to Elysium first. You need an item from from Brio to do anything in the second planet. And it's even more egregious than that because the item you get at the end of Brio is so contrived, like it's almost literally only useful for unlocking very specific doors. This is a boost ball spinner. So we can power all kinds of fun stuff with our Morph Ball now. We can get in here and spin this ladder up. That's not a ladder, that's a bridge. But yeah, you get this item, and I don't remember what it's called, so I'm going to try to describe it. It basically allows you to lock on to 5 targets at a time and shoot your beam in such a way that you hit all 5 targets at the same time. Kind of like the boomerang in some 3D Zelda games. Kind of like how the boomerang works, how you select your targets. And it's such a contrived item because it really doesn't have another use other than to just open doors that you literally need that item to open. So there's another nice little Chozo artifact for us. And again, this is literally a room we should not even come to now because we need to come back to this room with power bombs later to get more pickups. But whatever, I wanted to pick up an item in Magmoor Caverns on the way to Phendrana, so I structured my spreadsheet this way so I would get it now. And the door is right below us here. I always get to this platform and then jump off this bridge incorrectly and land in the lava and have to climb the whole room again. And we're not going to do that this day. Today we're going to climb correctly. Ow, getting shot. Moving on. We're good. Back to Phendrana with us. So, I'm not a fan of Metroid Prime 2 or 3. I did play them. I do own them. Actually, I bought Metroid Prime 2 when it first came out. Day one. I was so excited because Metroid Prime was so great. And then I didn't like 2 very much. It's just the same arguments everybody has against Metroid Prime 2. I don't like the limited ammo. I don't like the light and dark worlds. I don't like the damage area. There's boss fights in Metroid Prime 2. You have to fight in an area that drains your health because you don't have the correct armor yet. It's kind of bad, I think. It's kind of bad. It's a little bit bad. Metroid Prime 3 was more enjoyable to me as a game. I did enjoy the game more. It wasn't as egregious as Metroid Prime 2. 2 big problems with Metroid Prime 3. One, it's on the Wii. And all the standard, it's on the Wii caveats apply. You know, you have the Wiimote, and it's not fun to use the Wiimote to control games, basically. It's a little better in Metroid Prime 3 because you're not just waggling the controller around like a retard. You use the Wiimote to aim your gun in Metroid Prime 3. And a lot of people like that control scheme in Metroid Prime. I need to go to that door over there. Yes? Which means I space jump across here. Like that. Some people like the control scheme, and then after they released Metroid Prime 3, which I didn't buy, I actually borrowed that from a friend online. Actually mailed me his copy of Metroid Prime 3 so I could enjoy it. And I enjoyed it more than 2, but it was still... it's a Wii game, you know, what can you say? But my other complaint is it's just too much of a shooter, you know? It's just too much of a... I need to not get killed by this guy, I think would be a good idea. Yeah, Metroid Prime 3 is a little too much of a shooter and not enough of an exploration game. Like, it's kind of hard to quantify, but... That's a crystallite. We need to find... I think I know what I'm looking for in this room as far as the scan goes. No, that's him, right there. This crawly guy. There he is. He's an ice parasite. Also, screw him. But you can see that this game is a mixture of like strong exploration, a little bit of platforming, and first-person shooting. And Metroid Prime 3 has those same elements, but they're in the wrong proportion. It's kind of like, you know, you buy a Reese cup, right? And it's wonderful. You have it in your mouth, and the whole time it's in your mouth, you're like, can I just have this in my mouth all the time? Because Reese cups are so delicious. But then, like, Easter comes around, and you buy, like, the Reese cup egg, and at first you're like, oh, it's going to be great, because Brickroad keeps falling off these platforms. And also because the Reese cup eggs are big. They're like, huge. It's going to take, like, 6 bites to get through this candy. And I just want it in my face. But it's the wrong proportions, okay? It's not... It's the wrong proportion of chocolate to peanut butter. There's too much of the candy peanut butter and not enough of the chocolate in the Reese's egg. So you put it in your mouth and you're like, I mean, it reminds me of the much better candy that I enjoy. And that's Metroid Prime 3. It's too much shooter, not enough exploration. That's my review, by the way. There's my review, 2017. Brickroad's review of Metroid Prime 3, which is only 10 years late at this point. But after they released Metroid Prime 3, they released the Metroid Prime Trilogy, which I do own, and have literally never played. That has all 3 Metroid Prime games, and it uses the Metroid Prime 3 control scheme, where you aim with the Wiimote. And I'm not a fan of that control scheme. A lot of people like it, I just don't. I much prefer... I think the controller works fine for this game. We need 2 bombs to blow this up for some reason. Wah. So the first time I was going to record this game, Metroid Prime, which is the best game in the series, it was pretty close to after I got that version of Metroid Prime. I bought the Trilogy, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to record Metroid Prime, and it's going to be wonderful. But really, what happened? there. It's just, ugh, I don't like that. I don't like how you get to the item and it just magically gets sucked away from you. But I did try to record it, but at the time my recording setup was not very good as far as the capture card. I would have to play the game interlaced, which if you've watched my Sonic Adventure 2 Let's Play, you know that that's a big problem. And if you haven't watched it, don't watch it. It's not good. The other problem was at the time, the layout of my game room that I record all my games in, I would have had to play on my computer monitor because I didn't have everything plugged into a TV yet. Which, for a Wii game, doesn't work, because where do you put the little Wii remote strip, right? Like, I can't put it on my computer monitor 1 foot away from my face, it doesn't work. So, trying to play Metroid Prime in a Let's Play in that Wii series at the time, I actually put the Wii remote sensor bar off to the side of the screen and was trying to play the game like facing forward, but with my hand aiming off to the right, so there was enough room for the sensor bar to... And it didn't work. It was miserable. I recorded the first section with the Space Pirate Frigate. That's the next boss, is the She-Goth. We just need to shoot it in the face when it does purple fire at us, I think. Yeah. And this is just going to take a while. I don't know a faster way to kill this boss. Anytime it spits something at us, we can shoot it. But yeah, I did try to record this series before, but it was aborted because it was just miserable, both because of the control scheme and because my setup at the time just wasn't good for it. That was many years ago, and that was the only time I booted up Metroid Prime Trilogy. It's a nice box, nice metallic box. It looks great in the collection, but the games on it, I just can't play them. I imagine one day, one of the other Metroid Prime games, maybe even after this Let's Play goes live, people will, well, I don't want to watch Metroid Prime. Maybe it'll go up as a patron's choice option, Prime 2 and 3. We'll have to see, but I could see myself replaying Prime 3 someday, because even with the controls that I wasn't a fan of, the game itself, after I learned, okay, you're not supposed to ever explore anything. Just wait for the game to tell you where to go, and then go there. The game was mostly enjoyable, and then it gets much better as it goes on. Like, the end game of Prime 3, I think, is really strong. The way you get a super powerful gun that drains your health, but it, like, makes you feel like a god. Kind of reminiscent of the Hyper Beam in Super Metroid, except you get to use it a lot. So the end of Metroid Prime 3 feels really nice. And also I haven't played it in like 10 years, so who knows, maybe I'll appreciate the game more now. I do find myself enjoying first-person shooters more now than I would have, like, even when I started this Let's Play channel, not quite 10 years ago yet. 9 years ago, I've started the channel. 2008 in some capacity. There you go, thank you. Cannot rapid-fire missiles in this game either. There's a way to do it, but it's a little glitchy, and I don't know how to do it. I think it involves... You know what? Actually, I have an idea of what it might involve. Let's science it. Because my gun right now is not in missile mode. When you fire a missile, it goes into missile mode. Oh, yeah, that's how you do it. Alright, so I just learned something. I just figured something out. You fire a missile and then push the beam button to retract back into regular beam mode immediately. And then you can rapid-fire missiles. I could have made this boss go a lot nicer. Did I scan one of these yet? I have. And now, the early game of Metroid Prime is pretty much officially behind us. We have our second beam. We have all the early game items. And ahead of us, we have our first, like, actual, real Metroid Prime challenge. Fighting our way through the, like, the bulk, like, the difficult sections of Phendrana Drifts. Is, I would say, the first, like, actual part of the game where the game really expects you to be able to play competently. Like, it expects you now to know the rules and know how to fight, and it's going to start throwing more meatier challenges at you. Which is fine. Also, we can kill these things now. They have a kind of tractor pull effect when you're charging your beam, but the wave beam has, instead of traveling through walls like it does in 2D Metroid games, it has electricity properties. So electric energy creatures can be destroyed by it. And also we will use it to power electrical devices. I think the beam system in this game is really cool. The way, in typical Metroid game, you just find beams, and either the beam you find replaces the beam you have, or they just all stack to make like a super powerful beam, like if you've watched my AM2R series recently. So now we need to go through this. Yeah, now we'll go back through that purple door I mentioned earlier. And we don't have to go the long way around now because we got space jump. We should be able to jump straight up to the door. It's gonna be a good time. In this game, you get 4 different beams, and the 4 of them all have different properties that remain useful for the entire game. You will never stop using a particular beam in Metroid Prime. All 4 of the beams are good in their own way. And good is even the wrong word. Necessary, I would say. And I like that a lot. I like that feeling of, this is... I said I wasn't going to come around this way, and then I did. I did come around this way. You know what? Whatever. We'll just come around this way then. We don't have to fight the Sheegoths again. Can I just space jump from these boxes here? I think I can. Yeah, we can just go right up there. These little ice burrowers here are a missable scan. If you don't scan them your first time through, later in the game when you come back through Phendrana Drifts, the enemies in this room are replaced with more dangerous enemies, and those ice burrowers vanish for all the rest of time. Everybody misses that scan the first time they play the game. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 both use the same beam system as Metroid Prime 1, where you get X amount of beams and you kind of do things with them. And now that we can space jump, we can go into the room, get up on this ledge, come up here, and make our way up to the stalactite that we scanned earlier. Haha. The problem in those games is that the beams aren't as distinctive and they aren't as fun. Metroid Prime, the beam system works really well because it's using beams the player is ostensibly already familiar with. The power beam, the wave beam, the ice beam, and then eventually the plasma beam. They have slightly different properties than you're used to, but, you know, they're distinctive, they're colorful, the names are familiar, they feel really good, they don't run off of ammo, etc. I got Shriek Bat. I knew those bats were over there too, because I scanned them! It's fine though, we're gonna get our way out of here. Like in Metroid Prime 2, you get the light and the dark beam. And they have ammo, and you have to keep track of their ammo. Do I have to scan these guys? No, they're just scarabs. Sorry, we already scanned them in Chozo ruins. Essentially, they're just polar opposites. One beam does the stuff you need the light beam for, and the other beam does the stuff you need the dark beam for. They don't really have different properties, so to speak. We need to do a little puzzle here with a boost ball. A timed puzzle, as it happens. Let's see if I can get it my first try. I never get it my first try. Actually, maybe it's not a timed puzzle. Oh, no, we have to use both of the boosters, and then it becomes timed. Because then the whole place gets flooded, and we have to ride the ice flows up. I remember now. I have a memory. I have half of a memory. It's just the one half of one memory about the Metroid Prime, and we've got to make it to that. I'm still not hearing the countdown timer. Maybe I don't... Maybe I've got to get up there and into that slot to start it. Or no, I need to do both of these slots, maybe. Or maybe one... I don't know. I need to stop speculating, because obviously my half of memory is corrupted. I actually don't remember the different beam types in Metroid Prime 3. I don't think they were as obnoxious as in Prime 2, because I don't think they ran on ammo that you had to worry about. There's the timer beeps. We made it, though. We made it my first try. I didn't fall in the water and have to redo the whole area. Alright. Energy tank. I can now energize. Oh, no! Oh, I didn't... sorry. I'm sorry. I fell in the water anyway. Even after I patted myself on the back for not falling in the water, I fell in the water. Oh, this stayed done, though. Maybe I just need the water to get to the energy tank and not to the save point I'm headed towards right now because I'm done recording for now and I want to go make a sandwich. No, we have to trigger this again and then ride the platforms across. There's 2 locations to take the platforms to. One goes to the energy tank and one goes to the top of the room. And if you tank the energy tank, you have to redo this anyway. See, I didn't waste anybody's time. Nobody's time got wasted. Said Brickroad, trying to convince himself he is the greatest guy. The cool thing about the space jump is it gives you a little bit of air control. Not a lot, but a little bit. You can kind of control your direction in air by kind of using the first jump to get height and then the second jump to control your direction. So I tended to use 2 jumps even when it's not necessary to space jump. And there we go. We are done with the early game of Metroid Prime. We have all the early game items, and when we come back, we'll be going into the first, like, actually challenging gameplay section. It's kind of the equivalent of, say, the wrecked ship in Super Metroid. Except it's not wrecked. And it's not a ship. And this is not Super Metroid. Shoutouts to Graham Atkin for sponsoring this video, and to everybody who helps make my channel possible by supporting me on Patreon.